All right, everybody. So we have done 2024 Democrat nominee speculation from time to time, but it's always very useful to hear what CNN's main political analyst, Chris Cillizza, has to say. And so he has a column called "What's the Point?" Oh, I'm sorry, it's just "The Point" with Chris Cillizza
It
that
should
he
be
writes
called
for
"What's the
CNN.
Point?" but
Yeah, right.
they
What's the
don't have
point?
that level of self-awareness.
Right, exactly. Um, and so he just issued a power ranking of 11 Democrats who could replace Joe Biden in 2024. And I found this piece particularly hilarious, even by Chris Cillizza standards. I mean, we've kind of skewered his work before,
Yeah,
but let's just read
he
through this
invites that
list.
kind of treatment.
It's very short. Um, okay, he gives a little intro here about Biden's age and how he said he intends to run, but he might not. Okay, so, but what if Biden's plans change? Below, a look at the most commonly mentioned names for 2024 contenders and a single line on their viability. Kamala Harris, number one. She's undoubtedly struggled as vice president, but she's still the most likely Democrat not named Biden to wind up as the Democratic nominee in 2024. Okay, we know. Pete Buttigieg, the most naturally talented candidate in the 2024 field. Again, according to who? Mayor Pete
According
has
to who?
always been
Right,
front and
right.
center selling Biden's infrastructure bill. Who says he's the most talented candidate in the 2024 field?
The people Chris Cillizza hangs out with.
Yeah, white college kids in Iowa and New Hampshire who like Panic at the Disco
Yeah,
and like that song that they
yeah.
thought they were really taken
Well,
with his
well, that
talent.
that's 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 pretty much everybody doing punditry at CNN.
Right, exactly. All right, now here's where the list gets a little more fun. Elizabeth Warren, the Massachusetts senator, is still popular among liberals and wouldn't be splitting the vote with Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders this time around like she did in 2020. That's what you think.
Yeah.
Uh, Amy
If
Klobuchar.
Biden can run that 82, I can run at
Yeah, I
81.
can run it. He's funny if he fucking ran again.
It would be.
Um, Other than Buttigieg, the Minnesota senator, this is Amy Klobuchar, was probably the best regarded of the losing candidates in 2020. Again, according to who? According to
Yes.
who? I mean,
Yes.
and her Midwest roots are always a plus given the electoral map. All right, now here's where this gets really fun because
They're they're they're
Russell, you
falling
and
all over
I,
themselves in Ohio to elevate Amy Klobuchar to the presidency.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so here's where this list gets really interesting because Russell, you and I, follow politics very, very closely, as we know, and most of our viewers and listeners are politics junkies to a certain extent. Now, these next three people are people who it's quite possible none of you have ever even heard of. All right. Like I've never heard of, I think, two of these three by name. This guy,
Yeah.
never heard of him.
Yeah, never heard of him either. No.
Roy Cooper. Roy
Yeah.
Cooper, fifth in the 2024 power rankings, term limited out of office in 2024. The North Carolina governor has ample time to consider his next step, starting with his service as vice chairman of the Democratic Governors Association.
And you know what? They are doing such a bang up job. You could see why you'd want to make him president.
Right, exactly. Right. So he's looking good. Mitch Landrieu, he's the one guy who I heard
Him
of.
I know who he is.
I forgot who he was, but being tasked with implementing the infrastructure bill is a big and high profile job that the former New Orleans mayor has taken to with relish.
And by relish, they mean my goddamn city is below sea level.
Yeah,
We
right.
need money, goddamn it.
Right. Here's one. Gina Raimondo. She made the leap from Rhode Island governor to Biden administration commerce secretary, but doubts remain as to whether she is too moderate to win a Democratic primary in this moment. I think she's too unknown to win a Democratic primary in this moment. Who the hell? I never heard of Gina Raimondo.
I like the name rings a bell, but that's as far as it goes. Like I can't say I really know who she is.
Gretchen Whitmer.
I mean her, I know.
I know her. The Michigan governor needs to win what could be a tough reelection race next year before she can turn to considering a national run in earnest. Well, she's not going to win that tough reelection
Yeah,
race
I was
next year.
going to say so.
And
I
so
mean on
that's
the
done.
upside, she'll have the free time.
Phil Murphy. The record of New Jersey governors running for president isn't great of late. Sorry, Chris Christie! Exclamation point. But Murphy could use the next few years of his governorship as a testing ground for some national policies for the party. Here's another guy I never heard of, J.B. Pritzker.
No, him I have. Yeah.
Pritzker has two things going for him. I never heard of him. He's the governor of a major Midwestern state, Illinois, and two, he's very, very rich. And finally, number 11. I'm surprised he ranked Stacey Abrams this low. I mean, I would think Stacey Abrams is above,
this ranked in order? Is this actually in order?
I mean, I guess technically you're right. It's not, but
I
the
think
fact
it's
that
just a list.
But he did say Harris.
Yeah.
He put Harris and Buttigieg as 1 and 2, which is accurate.
Yeah.
So you would think he's ranking them. And Warren and Klobuchar are, you know, 3 and 4. I mean, it seems like it to be kind of ranked. Abrams talked openly about running in 2020 before passing on the race, but she needs to win the Georgia governor's mansion in 22 before thinking too much about 2024, which she's probably not going to
that could just be because she's announced for that race.
Maybe. Or you know what I think? I think he had a top 10 list and then he realized, oh, I can't speculate about Democratic Party politics without mentioning Stacey Abrams. You can be excommunicated for that. So we'll put top 11 and we'll throw Abrams on there. You know what this reminds me of? This really reminds me of the opening scene in the baseball movie, a great baseball comedy called Major League. Have you ever seen that with Charlie Sheen?
I mean, I know the movie you're talking about, but I've never seen it.
Okay, well, that movie is about it's about a baseball team that whose owner dies. So it takes place in Cleveland, and the Indians owner passes away, and it gets left to his like trophy wife, who has no interest in owning the team. You know, and so she wants to be able to sell the team off, and she figures that the best way to be able to sell the team off and just get rid of it is to tank them for a season, like a producer's kind of thing, you know, where she wants to throw the season. And so she comes up with this list of players, and in the opening scene, she's there with the board of directors of the team, and they're reading down the roster, and they're like, this guy busted his knee a year ago. This guy's in jail. And one guy, this guy here is dead. You know, they're reading down the roster and be like, who the hell are any of these people? And that's what this list feels like.
Yeah.
Roy Cooper, Gino Raimondo. I mean, I guess next to Gino Raimondo, Harris looks pretty good.
Well, what's interesting is nobody's buying it. Because I've talked to very libs about this, and none of them think that Kamala Harris or Pete Buttigieg could win. So they're selling it, but nobody's buying it. This isn't just the left saying Hillary will lose, and you know most Democrats don't believe it. Nobody, everyone that I've spoken to can clearly see that they're both losers, and it seems like the only ones who don't get that are people like Chris Cillizza, who keep floating these names as if there's a world where they could win a national presidential campaign. There is no such world. You know, there is nowhere in the DC multiverse or the Marvel multiverse or any franchise's multiverse. There is no Earth F where Pete Buttigieg wins the presidency, or much less Kamala Harris.
Right. Yeah, no, it can't happen. It can't happen. I mean, the only, you know, the people who I'm surprised are not mentioned on that list, and I'm speaking strictly from like an electability standpoint. Michelle Obama, who I think would have the best chance at winning. Gavin Newsom, again, not a fan of Gavin Newsom,
to be fair, Newsom is not listing her because she's so emphatically made it clear she's never going to run. So fair enough.
I mean, that's the thing.
Gavin Newsom wouldn't have a chance either. I mean, he almost got fucking recalled in his own state. The only reason, I'm not going to say the only reason he didn't, but it didn't wind up being a nail biter because the guy who emerged on the Republican side was such a whack job. Like, there was just no way.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, those two names, I think I would rank his chances above. I mean, Harris has no chance. Harris, there was a poll that came out. By the way, according to Real Clear politics, the average of polls, Trump is now beating Biden fairly handily, according to the average
Handily,
of polls.
what's the average?
I think the average has, as of right now, Trump beating Biden by about 3.5 points nationally in terms of a nationwide popular vote.
Wow.
I'm trying to
Wow.
find this right now here. General election, Trump versus Biden. Here, I'm pulling this up right now. Okay, so it's even worse. So it's well, one of those is the Rasmussen poll, which is really skews heavily right. But the average here, Trump plus 4.2.
Wow.
Over Biden.
Wow.
Nationally. Wow. And there was a recent poll that had Trump beating Kamala, a Harvard Harris poll, which is not a right wing poll. That's not like a Rasmussen thing. Trump versus Harris, Trump 50, Harris 41. And so you had him beating Harris by 9. And so, look, I mean, Trump lost the popular vote by... That's the kind of
blowout election you haven't seen since the 80s.
Well, that's a 40-state landslide because Trump lost the popular vote to Hillary by 2 points in 2016 and still got over 300 electoral votes. And he lost the popular vote by Biden to Biden by about 4 points. And like narrowly lost in the electoral college. Well, not narrowly. He lost by the same amount. So, it wasn't a landslide, but it wasn't all that close in terms of the map when you add up all of the state totals. But the point is, Republicans can come pretty close to winning, even when they lose the popular vote by 2 to 4 points.
Right.
So if they're winning the popular vote nationwide by 9, that's a 40-state landslide.
Not only that.
If they win by 3, it's probably a 30 to 35 state landslide.
Last time they did win, and they still lost seats at the local level and at the state level. So what would the aftermath of something like that look like? Where the Republican won the popular vote by a hefty margin? Yeah. I mean, what? Who would you have left? You'd have like a couple of sewer commissioners or something that are Democrats. Exactly, what Democrats would you have left in elected office? I mean, the country would, for all effects and purposes, become a one-party state, which I think is what's going to happen anyway. It's a question of how extreme that is with the gerrymandering, which is a long-standing problem. Combined with the new voting laws that are being introduced in Republican states, 2022, 2024, after that, America is just governed by the Republicans, in my opinion. Like, the Democrats just aren't even going to be a factor in governance anymore. You're going to have one political party.